You know, Adventure Academia looked quite promising when I first discovered it. I'm a somewhat casual fan of strategy RPGs, and I do play a lot of indie titles and AA releases. Luckily for me, I've been on good terms with the publisher PQube for quite a while now, so they were kind enough to send me over a review code. Unfortunately, I utterly failed to connect with this game in any meaningful way over the course of my playthrough. The thing is, I don't think it would be fair to call it actively bad. I mean, I like the anime art style, the core mechanics do what they need to do, and the combat is a nice change of pace for the genre. It's just that there's so little here in terms of interesting content. It feels incredibly by the numbers and is essentially made up of 4 to 5 different elements that you've already seen 1,000 times done better in other games. These shortcomings, at least as far as I see them, are only compounded when you consider its steep asking price. As I've said before, I know that price and value are subjective things, I understand that, but to me, this game costs roughly 3 times what it should do. If you still think it looks interesting, then I would recommend waiting for a deep discount, and I'm talking 75% off at least, or perhaps you could try out the free demo before making a purchase. If you happen to like the demo or the discount is large enough, then I think it could be worth your time as something to play on the side or perhaps in between other releases. So what is Adventure Academia: The Fractured Continent? Well, it's a strategy RPG that features highly customizable teams, an overarching story with dialogue choices, and auto-battling combat in place of the traditional grid and turn-based systems. I don't know how many of you would know this, but the game is set in the same world as the Class of Heroes series for the PSP handheld console, the first of which released in 2008 or 2009, somewhere around there I believe, and while I haven't played them myself, I was aware of them. From what I understand, this series has always been very niche, and they don't seem to have been very well received over the years either, getting 5s and 6s out of 10 at best. If that is indeed the case, then I suppose my feelings towards Adventure Academia do make some sense. In this game though, you play as Alex, a young man who owns a powerful relic called the Ruler Orb, which was passed down to him through many generations. In the world known as Pedra, Alex attends one of the 4 academies, Obsidian High, and sets off on an adventure with some friends and students which have been recruited straight from the school itself. The plot is slowly revealed through dialogue which is given to you as you complete each stage on the map. Adventure Academia is quite simplistic, so let's break the game down into 3 sections. Those are the school, the map, and of course the battles. The most important thing to know across the entire game is that Alex does not partake in the combat, although he is on the field. So with that in mind, you're going to need to recruit some students from the school to do the fighting for you. The school has a variety of different options, but chief among them is the ability to recruit as many students as you want into your party. You've got a lot of the standard fantasy classes like human, dwarf, and elf, but you've also got some more obscure options, like the Baha Moon, who are dragonic humanoids, and the gnomes, which are spirits inhabiting an android body. When you hire a student, you can choose if you want them to be male or female, and then they'll come with a set of 3 randomized traits. It doesn't actually cost anything to do this, so you can keep trying until you get the traits that you want and have them complement your specific party setup. You have 6 active slots, but you have limited backup space, so you will need to dismiss some of them in order to acquire more later. Each of the characters in your team can be equipped with up to 3 gear items, 1 weapon and 2 accessories. As you'd imagine, each of these items give that character various bonuses such as extra HP or more attack power. You'll notice that the characters also have a school class and a school grade. For example, characters start off in the freshman class, and then you can increase that class's grade multiple times using SP gained from battle, which unlocks buffs along the way. After gaining all of the grades in a single class, you'll be able to move on up to the next class, which can of course be improved in the same way. The school does have a few other services as well. There's a shop to buy and sell gear and a few sections based on party management. The next part of the game is very simple to explain, and unsurprisingly, that happens to be the map. Each stage is represented on this map by these little icons. They show you the recommended level for your party members and let you know if there's any loot chests to be found there. You can press a single button at any time on this map to jump straight back to the school, and honestly, that's about it for the map. Lastly, we get to the combat system. At first glance, it does look a lot more complex than it actually is. The 2 most important components of battle are simply movement and MP. At the start of any stage, the player character Alex is already on the field, and then you can summon 2 of your party members within the area defined by the green outline. At that point, you can now move Alex around the map by giving him a marker to move towards. Your student warriors, however, act on their own about 90% of the time. The other 10% is you picking them up and moving them around manually or using one of their special spells. As time goes on, you'll notice that your MP, located at the bottom left, increases slowly on its own. This MP is used to rank up your characters on the field and Alex himself. The more you increase Alex's rank, the more characters you can summon to the field, and the more you can increase a character's rank, the stronger it becomes. These ranks are reset when the battle ends, but the XP they gain for leveling up is a completely separate thing. So XP and levels are permanent, but ranks during combat do get reset, it's that simple. As I briefly mentioned a moment ago, you can also use MP to perform special skills that each character has, and these can be buffs, heals, or AoE attacks, for example. As you move around the map with Alex, your summoned characters will basically follow you around and auto-battle the enemies that they encounter. If they happen to get knocked out, they can be resummoned after a short time. In terms of objectives and goals during a stage, it usually comes down to go destroy this thing or go take out this enemy. And that's really about it as far as the game's content goes. There really isn't much more to go over, so before we move on to my personal opinions, let's quickly go over the performance and availability. I played the PS4 version on my PS5, but there isn't a dedicated PS5 version. Performance-wise, the gameplay was smooth and I experienced no glitches, bugs, or crashes during my time with it. Adventure Academia is officially out on December 9th, 2022 for PS4, Nintendo Switch, and PC. There's a free demo out there for PlayStation and Switch, but I'm not 100% sure about how the PC demo works. Physical copies for PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch are widely available. So what are my personal feelings towards the game? Well, honestly, this one really didn't do it for me. As I said at the start of the review, it's not that it's poorly made or just utter trash, it's just so unremarkable in every aspect. That said, let's be fair, I suppose the anime art is pretty nice, the character races are quite interesting, and the combat isn't terrible in my humble opinion. Overall though, I just don't feel that it's good enough in a world where so many incredible indie and AA games exist. Again, maybe if it's heavily discounted and you've literally got nothing else to play, then sure, you could do far worse than Adventure Academia. Once again, price, cost, and value mean different things to different people, but to me, in my head, this game is way too expensive. On release, it's going to be £35 in the UK and $40 in the US. Now, I didn't know the price of the game until after I'd finished it, and that's because obviously I had a review code. So when I was playing through it, writing notes and all that stuff, I was thinking to myself, you know what, this isn't too bad for a cheaper low-end game. I was thinking it was going to be £15 to £20 or dollars at the most, and then I looked up the price and I was frankly shocked. Having said that, I mean, if someone out there paid $40 for it and absolutely loves the game, then more power to you, I suppose. You know, I wouldn't pay $100,000 for a car or $300 for some sneakers either, but people do, and that's their prerogative, and I guess it's none of my business. But yeah, to give you my personal view, it's not worth that kind of money. 15, sure, but 40, no sir. And at this point, there's not really going to be much more to say in this section because nothing was particularly bad. There wasn't anything that I saw or experienced that I could point to and say, yeah, I didn't like that. As an entire package, the game just kinda exists and that's about it. I genuinely feel like you could watch this review once and then you'd have seen literally everything the game has to offer you. And you guys know that I don't like to be overly harsh on my channel, but if I don't enjoy something, I will absolutely let you know, review code or not. I guess the story is fine, I suppose. It's typical anime fare, and that's not a problem, far from it. It's just very bland in this instance, and I can almost guarantee that you'll feel like you've heard it all before. You do get quite a few dialogue choices here and there, but they don't seem to have any impact on anything outside of the responses that you get. I guess they kind of fill the role of flavor text in this case and nothing more. Visually, its presentation is decent, I'd say. It's not winning any awards, but its character art is the clear highlight, and it's definitely got its own style during combat. The entire game is bright, colourful, and cheerful, but unfortunately, it doesn't do very much with those positive elements. Gameplay-wise, it's once again okay. Due to the auto-battling nature of the combat, it starts to feel quite repetitive quite quickly. And you know, that's something I don't usually mind if the thing that I'm doing is actually fun to me. kinda like the first-person shooting in Destiny 2 for example. But here, the already lackluster game became repetitive rather fast, and were I not playing this for review, I hate to say it, but I definitely would have dropped it. In my opinion, Adventure Academia: The Fractured Continent is completely inoffensive but utterly lacks any form of excitement. I wasn't expecting it to be a Game of the Year contender, but almost every moment spent with this game felt like a very dull episode of Deja Vu. I've seen everything that's here 100 times before in other more interesting video games, and I just don't think there's enough going on to justify itself. It doesn't look bad and it doesn't play bad, but it doesn't give you anything to be interested in either. Ultimately, I would find it very hard to recommend this game to you unless it was at least 75% off, and even then, only if you really wanted to play it. As I said, it's not awful by any means. It's playable for sure, but it feels so uninspired, so vanilla, and so plain, especially at this ridiculous price point. If the price doesn't bother you, or you're watching this in the future during a sale or something, then look, it's not the worst thing you could buy. It's fine. Just please do me a favor and try the demo before putting down your hard-earned cash. If you enjoy the video, I really hope you'll consider subscribing, and if you like what I do and want to help support the channel, please check out the first link in the video description down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.